Hi, my friends. I thought it would take a few minutes to talk about my Christ Collage print. I released a new version and I hope you like it. I do too. There's a couple of changes and here it is. That's my Christ Collage with 16 images of Christ, and one of them has been changed. I'll let you try to figure out which that one is. But the big change is that we've provided borders around each image. Before they were all just joined together and one big mass of color. Now they're distinct and separated, and it looks a lot cleaner, and I'm really happy with it. So I thought it would take a few minutes just to go through each of the images again, like I've done before, and describe the meaning to each one, because often I'll get a message from somebody or an email saying, what's the story behind such and such an image? And I could easily say, well, here's a link to my YouTube video where I explain them. And that was easy. So now there's been a few changes, and I'm going to do it over again just so that I can have that video to explain each of the images of Christ. Now, generally speaking, the reason why I drew these is because essentially it's kind of exploring the idea Mother Teresa had, where she saw the face of Christ in every child on the street of Calcutta and in every person. And so whether or not you believe in Christ as a reality or even Jesus as a historical person or whatever, I believe good Christian theology is that the presence of Christ is in all things and in all people, and that we're all one, and that everyone shares in this reconciliation of all things. You know, that verse, God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, and that in him we live and move and have our being, or that Christ is in all things, the all in all. Literally it says the all in all. I was exploring that through these images, different images, to portray that Christ, the Spirit of Christ or whatever, can be in such and such a person. So why don't I just go through these and explain each one. So I'll start here. This one is called Jesus Cries, and I hope you can see it clearly there. So you see the halo is the setting sun, and he's crying tears, and they're filling up until they're almost to his nose. This one is about the incredible sorrow and suffering that's in the world, and it's a picture of Jesus crying tears of sorrow, and he's about at the limit. So that's what that one is about. This one is Mexichrist, and here we see a Mexican worker with his two children hiding in his arms. He's holding an apple. Often Mexican workers work the fields and orchards, and we see his halo is a sombrero, and there are some holes in it, maybe bullet holes, I don't know. But his children are afraid of being taken away from him, their father. And we don't know where the mother is. The next one is Science and Wonders. And so I was kind of playing on the word signs and wonders. And here we see Jesus with the scientific symbol behind him. And then he's holding the earth, and it's melting in his hands. And so this is about climate change and the environment. It's one of my favorite ones, and I feel quite urgent that if you don't think science is true or that the Spirit of Christ can be in science, then I think you have a big problem. This one, this was actually the first one I ever drew in this whole series, and this one is called Includer, and it shows his halo as the colors of the LGBTQ community, the rainbow flag. And it's based, it's inspired by some icons of Jesus. And it's one of my personal favorites as well. Let's go back over here. This one's called Standing Rock, and I drew that during the Standing Rock protests. It's an indigenous person, First Nations, with the healing wheel and the earth behind. Some people say I have the colors mixed up there, but I find all different kinds of versions, but this is, I think it's important to see the Spirit of Christ in all people, including First Nations people. This one is actually the new one I've added, Border Baby. And here we see a brown baby crying, separated from its parents. The halo is, originally I called this Concertina because it sounds like a girl's name, Concertina. But Concertina is actually the name of that barbed wire. That's the kind of barbed wire it is, Concertina. But I also call it Border Baby. And on the baby's wrist is one is too many. The tattoo is one is too many. One baby in a cage is too many. One baby being separated from its parents is too many. This one here is called Refugees. I hope you like the names of these. I put a lot of work into the names of these images. So, Refugees. And here we see, this one was drawn way back, like 7 or 8 years ago. We see Jesus looking like a refugee. He's crying. He's gaunt. Barbed wire for his halo as well. His hands are stained with blood, and he's carrying something. People ask me, what's he carrying? I don't know. What do you think he's carrying? It's a mystery. This one is Let Them Eat Cake, and I drew this in response to the bakery that refused to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. I don't understand how they can get away with that, because if you said, I'm not going to bake cakes for black people, I don't think you can get away with that. I don't know how they got away with not having to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. Love is love. And so I made a rainbow cake, and Jesus is eating it and enjoying it and sharing it. I hope you like that one. Okay, let's start back over here. This is called the Holy Family. Again, refugee. They look Middle Eastern. They have halos, and they're behind a barbed wire fence. Again, this is the third one, I guess, where I've identified Jesus with refugees. I certainly identified Jesus with the marginalized, the rejected, the outliers, the ones who are persecuted and so on. And so this is called the Holy Family. A lot of people say Jesus was never a refugee, but a lot of people say he was. When Jesus' parents took him and fled into Egypt to escape persecution, that sounds like a refugee to me. Here is Jesus. Jesus, this is my female one. And you can see behind her the female symbol. And she looks pretty determined. Her belly is plump. She's pregnant. Her arms are crossed with certainty. She looks strong and brave and courageous, somebody you don't mess with. And then the different colors, green and yellow and red and purple, passion, life, royalty. This one is called Safety, and he's got a safety pin. Do you remember years ago when people were wearing safety pins? It was a symbol that they were a safe person to come out to, or a safe person for anybody. If you were wearing a safety pin, people who were in trouble could see that and know that you were a safe person. So I drew that safety and the heart as a halo. This one is called The Peace of Christ. And of course, it sounds like the peace of Christ, of course, me being funny. And this is also based on the story where a pizza joint refused to serve gay people pizza. And again, I don't know how they can get away with that. It's discrimination. You know, you can't say I'm not going to serve black people, or I'm not going to serve Muslims, or I'm not going to serve women. I don't know. How can you say I'm not going to serve gay people and get away with it? To me, it makes no sense. Of course, I'm speaking from Canada, where the discrimination isn't as bad. So, a piece of Christ, and he's eating that pepperoni and cheese pizza and sharing it. Looks good. That's my favorite pizza, just pepperoni and cheese. It's hard to find a good one around here. This one is called Questioner, and this one is Jesus as a boy. I saw this one in an image in a dream last night. Not last night, one night. I saw Jesus looks just like that, and with freckles. But I don't think you can see it, but his pupils are the shape of crosses. And the halo is a cross. Now, it's interesting, the stories of Jesus in the Gospels, when Joseph and Mary were going to be counted for, population taxes and all that, they lost him and on their journey, and they had to go back to Jerusalem to find him. And where were they? I think Jerusalem. Anyway, they went back to find him, and they found him in the temple talking with the elders. And it says the elders were impressed by his wisdom because of the questions he was asking. And so that is, to me, an important part of the story, that Jesus showed his wisdom because of the questions he asked. I think that's pretty important. And here he's about 13 years old. This one is called Neither, and I base that on the verse, in Christ there is neither male nor female, Jew or Greek, rich or poor, etc. So this one is neither, and on one side looks like a man and the other side looks like a woman, and they are holding the non-binary symbol of the male and female, and the cross-shaped one, which is non-binary. And then the halo, of course, is the colors of the rainbow, LGBTQ. So that's one of my favorites too. This one is called Survivor, and it's based on my notion that the Gospels portray Jesus as someone who suffered abuse, certainly in his last days, and who was a victim of violence. And so I showed him in this way with a target as his halo. There's a target on him. And there were people that felt they had the right to physically harm someone. And Jesus is a victim of that. And then finally, this last one is change. And change is what's written on the cup. And it's a unhoused person. And you can see his halo is a sleeping bag. And change meaning, is he just asking for change, like coins? Or is he asking for change, transformation? I think that's important. So that's all of them. And I hope you like it. I have provided, you can get, some of these are still available in your original. Some of these images, like this one, Jesus, Border Baby. I think maybe this one too. Survivor. But they're also available in prints, really nice prints, anything from 8 by 10, this size, and much larger. So a lot of people have these in their homes or in their offices or in their cubicles. A lot of churches have them in their foyer or lobbies or in their churches, or pastors in their studies, etc. So if you want to go and get a print, they're at NakedPastor.com, and look under drawings and then images of Christ. Here it is. Christ Collage, I call it. Thanks so much, my friends. Much love.